who followed him. So this was a very significant strike. It is not over, and there are still remaining leaders. And certainly they're going to be very careful about how they move around. But as soon as the U.S. and Israel can suppress the air defense systems, and they're in the process of doing that, they're going to have a lot easier time than flying their air forces over Iranian territory. And then it becomes a lot harder for those leaders to hide. But that is still a few days off, I'm told. And in terms of the besieged, in terms of the IRGC, I mean, you're talking thousands of people who are in, if not 150,000 people who are in those security forces and who are believers, true believers, and who are willing to die, and suicide bombers and whatever have you. That is very hard to target. You can target their headquarters, you can target their leadership, but this is complicated. And remember, there are a lot of allies in Iraq. Iraq has a lot of Shia militias. We just heard that some of them have fired some missiles at some of the neighboring states as well. And they also are firing at a U.S. base in Erbil right now. So this is very complicated. There are Shia Muslims around the world there are many who will celebrate the end, if this in fact is the end of the theocracy in Iran. Many of those people who went into exile, the dissidents who left after the Shah's regime fell. But there are also many who supported that regime and believe that this was a strategy.
And all right, so Iran has officially struck a ship in the Strait of Hormuz. So they're not playing around with us, pretty much. They're pretty much saying, no, if you actually do come around here, we will shoot down a plane or anything that's going through the Strait of Hormuz. Right here.
2% inside have. $2% inside have.
But all right, though, let's go ahead and get back to the Fox News video.
On Shia Islam.
Jennifer Griffin, great reporting last 24 hours, especially. Thank you.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Okay, now to Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst, live in Tel Aviv. Good morning, Trey. What is going on there now?
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. Throughout the morning, we've heard air raid sirens sounding across Israel's second largest city. The Iranians still trying to respond. In the distance, you can still hear some of those car alarms going off after those incoming missiles were intercepted overhead. We are getting some new video from the Israelis who launched a fresh round of strikes into the heart of Tehran this morning, going after a very specific building. Exclusively, an Israeli intelligence official tells Fox News that the building you see blown up here in the Iranian capital was used by the IRGC as a command center during the demonstrations earlier this year, as a place to order the crackdown against protesters. This official says that the specific location was used to command the massacring of protesters. Again, though, the Iranians have been responding over.
And breaking, we do have, sadly, breaking 3 U.S. troops killed in Iran strikes. Oh, man. Okay. All right. Let's get into it.
Learning. And we're just learning that 3 service members, according to CENTCOM, have been U.S. service members have been killed in Iranian strikes, reminding us of the incredible stakes that are at play here. Earlier, we were talking about the.
By the way, 5 have been seriously.
About to crucify this man, Trump, over this. Bro, like, let's be real. They're going to crucify this man over this. Oof, this is not looking good, but I mean, God rest their souls. Let's get right into it, though. Let's see, Whiteman Air Force Base. Well, damn.
And we're just learning that 3 service members, according to CENTCOM, have been U.S. service members have been killed in Iranian strikes, reminding us of the incredible stakes that are at play here. Earlier, we were talking about the.
By the way, 5 have been seriously wounded as well.
Earlier, we were, Griff, you and I were talking about the B-2s. And of course, this would be this bombing on which was designed to basically leave Iran blind and deaf to all the follow-on attacks. is separate from the 30 bombs that were dropped on the Khomeini's compound.
That's correct, because again, what they're trying to do is to hit targets, in the case of this B-2 mission, to take out the ballistic missiles, and they've used the bunker busters because those are deep underneath the ground in some cases. And with the attack on the meeting that was happening, the intelligence they got, that's in obviously the building, that spectacular video we saw. But, you know, just that last news, I mean, to be reporting live now that 3 service members have been killed, 5 critically injured, really is a stark reminder of what's at stake. And the president noting that casualties were a real possibility here.
And he did say
he said it was a war and casualties are a part of it.
that casualties were a possibility. But as we know, in these kinds of conflicts, there's a lot of unpredictable things that can happen. I think now more than ever, I hope the president will come back on and speak to the American people. And make the
there goes the guys who were saying there were going to be 0 casualties. We're just so much powerful than Iran that we can never get a casualty. They'll never touch us. How is that working out now? I mean, it sounded good in the beginning, but now that we're here and 3 soldiers have been killed, like I said, and I blame Iran, trust me, like it makes me hate them even more. But at the end of the day, we were kind of telling you guys why this should not be a thing that we're championing, that we're trying to push towards, because, well, people's lives are at risk, not just innocent civilians in Muslim countries, but our soldiers as well.
Case, perhaps more fully, more completely for why we're in this conflict, because there's going to be even more questions following this. I think that's really important to look at the politics here as well. That there are a lot of people that are on either side, on the right, on the left, who will need more explanation.
CENTCOM posting on X as of 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, March 1st, 3 U.S. service members have been killed in action and 5 are seriously wounded as part of an Operation Epic Fury. Several others sustained minor shrapnel injuries and concussions and are in the process of being returned to duty. Major combat operations continue and our response effort is ongoing. The situation is fluid, so out of respect for the families, we will withhold additional information. We will keep you posted. More Fox and Friends coming up.
All right, then let's see what let's go ahead and see what the left side of media got to say about this. ABC News.
Military officials, CENTCOM U.S. military officials confirming 3 U.S. service members have been killed, 5 others wounded as part of Operation Epic Fury. This coming amid growing turmoil in the Middle East as the U.S., Israel, and Iran trade fresh strikes after the killing of Iran's supreme leader. Iran targeting Israel and U.S. allies in the Gulf. Israel says 8 people are confirmed dead after a missile barrage there, and the United Arab Emirates is reporting 3 dead. Neighboring Arab countries are on high alert.
Hold on. Bro, I'm sorry, but shut your dumb ass up, bro. Shut your dumb ass up. We were telling you, the anti-war side, you guys want to call us isolationists. We've been told you this was going to happen. We told you every step of the way what was going to happen, and y'all sat there and y'all try to call us names, and we were right. We were right. That's what y'all upset about, the fact that we were right and you guys were fucking wrong. And guess what? Now there's 3 American families that will not see their loved ones. Because what? You guys want to push war with Iran? Yeah, we were right. Sorry, we told you so. We told you this wasn't a good idea. We told you it wasn't in our best interest. And look where we're at. Please, cope some more.
Protests break out at U.S. embassies and consulates. Tear gas was fired as protesters gathered outside the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. And in Pakistan, several people were killed. We have extensive team coverage in the region and here in the U.S. But we begin with ABC News Chief International Correspondent James Longman in Istanbul, Turkey, with the very latest on this major escalation. James, we are just getting word of these first American casualties. What can you tell us about the American service members that were killed?
Yeah, that's right, Janae. The stakes in this conflict are just being raised every moment as this war continues and seems to spiral. We have a statement from CENTCOM, US Central Command, saying as of 9:30 a.m. Eastern, March 1st, 3 US service members have been killed in action and 5...
Now I do want to ice these, man. Now I do want to strike Iran with a nuke now. Now that it's taking American lives, now I'm upset, but We told y'all this was going to happen, but for some reason, y'all kept playing in our face, going like, well, you know, S.E.T, we're just so advanced. They can never touch us. They got 3 of us. Like, come on.
Seriously wounded.
And God forbid that there's more. God forbid. But most likely.
As part of Operation Epic Fury. Several others sustained minor shrapnel injuries and concussions and are in the process of being returned to duty. Major combat operations continue and our response effort is ongoing. It goes on to say the situation is fluid, so out of respect for the families, we will withhold additional information, including the identities of our fallen warriors, until the 24 hours after next of kin have been notified. There is, of course, a huge American presence in the Middle East. I'm not going to speculate on where exactly these casualties may have occurred, but we know that there are a huge number of US troops in the region, not just those that were sent by the White House, by Donald Trump over these last few weeks, but the permanent presence that the US has all across this region, some 35,000 US service personnel. You will remember, though, Janae, that when Donald Trump made his announcement that these strikes were happening, he did concede that there may well be US casualties. He said, I mean, the lives of courageous...
I'll give him that. Come on now, shout out to Trump. He was being honest. He's like, look, I'm gonna be real with you. This is a war. There's gonna be US casualties, but we're gonna win. And I mean, yes, we're gonna win. I mean, bro, it's not like we would never lose to Iran, but it's not like it's not without no losses. I'm gonna tell you that right now. It's not gonna be a flawless victory. Like, this ain't Mortal Kombat. So sorry, but yeah, we were gonna take some L's on that. And we took three American lives.
American heroes may be lost and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. He went on to say that this is something that needs to be done for the security of the United States. There's a suggestion that the war was launched to stop Iran from launching missiles at the US homeland and, of course, to neutralize whatever efforts the Iranians are making at rebuilding their nuclear capacity. That is the information we have at the moment on those US casualties. It just goes to show how serious the situation remains, and it is ongoing. The Iranians continue to fire at will.
Like, it's crazy. I know Trump said there'd be casualties. Doesn't mean that because Trump said there'd be casualties, that means it's just okay now. Like, well, what are we saying, guys? I just want to know where we're at with this. I thought it was no new wars in the Middle East. We didn't get that. Now we don't want no casualties. We're not getting that. And now we're just saying, well, Donald Trump said it'd be casualties, so it's all good. Huh? Hold on.
This region so far, it's been at US bases, permanent installations across the Middle East. A number of Gulf countries have been in the firing line. I think at the last count, 8 countries outside Israel across this region have been targeted by drones and missiles by the Iranians. And here, the first American casualties of this war.
But all right, though. But all right. So, yeah. Like I said,
I wanted to give everybody.
I hate being the guy to say this, but I was telling you guys it was going to happen. That American lives most likely will be lost, but I was being a panican apparently, or I was being an isolationist. Here we are, and what happened? Everything that I feared happened. But whatever, man. Whatever.
A little bit of a briefing on now the second day of hostilities between the United States and Iran, as well as the entire Middle Eastern region, where multiple different countries have now been struck. We have fatalities all across the Middle East and new announcements as well of some major attacks with world-changing implications. Just at the top, I do want to give a caution. This is a fast-moving situation. I'm going to give reports. I'm going to caveat everything together, and I'm going to try and say only when something is confirmed and when something is, of course, reported. So let's start with the most important news that has now been confirmed by the Iranian regime. And this is, of course, the death of the Ayatollah Khamenei. This was announced by President Trump. He says Khamenei, one of the...
Well, hold on. Let's see over here, our guys at NBC News.
Correspondent Courtney Cuby. Courtney, what more can you tell us about this breaking news right now? The U.S. service members who were killed. What are we learning? Do we know anything about how it happened?
Yeah, so far we know, according to U.S. Central Command, that's the military command in the Middle East, we know that at least 3 U.S. service members have been killed as part of this Operation Epic Fury. That's the airstrikes, this continuing campaign against Iran, and at least 5 others have been seriously wounded. Now, we know that others have sustained other injuries. The CENTCOM described them as shrapnel injuries and concussions as part of this. We're still trying to find out exactly where this occurred, if it was one location. What may sound familiar here, guys, is the idea of shrapnel injuries and concussions. You'll recall that when Iran struck at Al-Udeid, or excuse me, at Al-Assad Air Base in western Iraq several years ago after the U.S. killed Qasem Soleimani, there were a number of service members, dozens in fact, who received concussions and traumatic brain injuries because of the concussive blast of the ballistic missiles that Iran launched at that base. So despite the fact that the individuals were able to get into shelters in most cases, get away from the blast, just the sheer magnitude of the ballistic missiles hitting caused some of those injuries. So it's not clear at this point whether that was what happened here or not, but that could be why CENTCOM is now reporting a number of concussions. Again, we're now reporting that at least 3 U.S. troops have been killed in Operation Epic Fury. At least 5 others have sustained serious injuries. And I have to say, this is an ongoing campaign against Iran by the United States, and Iran continues to retaliate. So this is a number that we will continue.
Monty, bro, I literally had people trying to sell me that, oh, we're just so advanced of a military that they're not even going to take out nobody. Was y'all not saying that? Y'all was. So I'm sorry, but what are you talking about, brother? I'm the one who said that casualties were going to be a thing. You guys were trying to tell me that we were just so advanced that it wasn't even a thing, that we'll just steamroll these guys and set you're worrying too much. That's what y'all told me. Man, this is wild
to watch, but it will likely change in the coming hours and days, guys.
Courtney, we know you'll update us the moment you get more information.
Like, maybe if y'all ain't gaslight me about it, I wouldn't be so turned up. That's all I gotta say.
But picking up where you left off, we know the U.S. military had been building up its presence in the region for several weeks. I mean, just walk us through now. We're on day 2 of this, past the initial strikes on day 1. What is the U.S. military involvement right now? Do we have an idea of just how long this operation could last for American forces?
We should be thinking about this not in terms of days, but in terms of weeks at this point, if in fact the military is expected to achieve these goals laid out by President Trump. And the only time we have heard from him since this campaign began, that was a social media video that the White House posted at about 2:30 in the morning, early Saturday morning, explaining the goals that he wants for this operation. And that is the destruction of Iran's nuclear program, the destruction of their ballistic missile program, as he put it, the annihilation of their Navy. And then, of course, this ultimate goal, which is to overthrow or topple the Iranian regime there, which the President Trump called on the people there to play a big part in. If in fact the U.S. military is expected to be used for those goals, this is not a short campaign. We have already seen, as you mentioned, Joe, the U.S. military bring in the largest amount of firepower, a concentrated amount of firepower in the region in a generation. They have already unleashed hundreds of strikes against Iran in just the first 20 or 32 hours or so since this began. As I mentioned, it is a sustained air campaign, and it's not just airstrikes. They are also striking from land and striking from the sea, but it's also not just about the offensive posture here. You know, I just mentioned these service members who were killed. Iran is also retaliating. They are lashing out at countries all throughout the region, trying to hit Americans, trying to hit hit the Israelis, and the U.S. is involved in the defense of that. Not just the defense of U.S. bases, but the defense of allies. And as part of that, this massive amount of U.S. military who've moved into the region in recent weeks, they are also responsible for the defensive posture that, again, as Iran continues to lash out after the U.S. and Israel began these strikes early Saturday morning, the defensive piece of this will be just as important as the offensive piece, Joe.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app.
And alrighty, now let's go ahead and get over to the next one here. Let's see. Gotcha.
Israel says it launched a new wave of attacks against Iran overnight after a series of strikes Saturday morning killed Iran's supreme leader and other key government figures. As Allison Kosik reports, President Donald Trump has called on Iranians to use this moment to take back their country.
It's the announcement sending shockwaves around the world. Iran's supreme leader is dead. The 86-year-old killed in a massive coordinated U.S. and Israeli attack on Iran. President Trump posting on social media, "This is not only justice for the people of Iran, but for all great Americans and those people from many countries throughout the world that have been killed or mutilated by Khamenei and his gang of bloodthirsty thugs." Satellite imagery showing extensive damage to the Supreme Leader's compound. Buildings leveled. Video posted online showing celebrations in Iran after news he'd been killed. Iranian video showing mourners lining up for his funeral. Sources telling ABC News the joint U.S.-Israeli strike was meticulously planned for months. The brazen daylight assault dubbed Operation Epic Fury. Trump laying out his case.
Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people.
The operation involving U.S. and Israeli fighter jets as Navy warships fired Tomahawk cruise missiles. At least 9 cities in Iran were targeted, including facilities of Iran's Revolutionary Guard. The president saying several of Iran's top leaders were also killed.
And it looks like they took out their radar as well. So it's going to have, we're pretty much dominating through air superiority all the way through. Because if we're taking out their radars, well, they won't be able to see our missiles coming anymore.
Iran swiftly retaliated. Israeli air defense intercepting a barrage of Iranian missiles over Tel Aviv, some still breaking through. U.S. officials say the operation could last for days, and the president acknowledging that there may be American casualties. Allison Cossack, ABC News, New York.
Demonstrations broke out all over the nation and world in response to the U.S. attacks on Iran. We're expecting another protest in Orlando today at noon. And this is what Orlando looked like Saturday when people gathered to protest. This was on Alafaya Trail in Waterford Lakes Town Center. Channel 9's JJ Burton was there and has more.
The protest today will be from 12 to 2 right out here in front of City Hall. Now, there's people who agree with the president's decision, and there's others on the other side who don't. From the signs they're holding high to their amplifying chants here on the corner of Alafaya Trail, their message is loud and clear.
I think I feel tired. I think a lot of working class people are feeling tired right now. It seems like there's always some other country being bombed.
Videos like this is what Americans woke up to Saturday morning.
I'm mad.
President Donald Trump gave the order to strike Iran overnight. He says the move took out most of Iran's leadership, including their supreme leader. And while protesters here are speaking out against it, there are others on the other side of this, and they say Iran left the president no choice.
People that are on the outside need to understand that we've been the first victims of the Iranian regime's brutality for almost 50 years. So we know the brutality that we have to deal with the government that's in Iran that does not represent the people. We don't want a theocracy anymore. We want a separation of church and state.
And the president says the bombings will continue into the week, and he called for Iranians to rise up against their government.
I think it's funny that Trump can get on that stage and talk about the danger or the threat that Iran poses on American citizens.
The Iranian Community Center, they will be out here this afternoon from 12 to 2 holding a rally. Reporting in downtown Orlando, I'm JJ Burton, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
God bless him.
Reaction from Florida politicians was split along party lines. Florida Democratic Party Chair Nikki Fried issued a statement saying in part, the Ayatollah has led an evil regime that has crushed the human rights of Iranians, escalated tensions in the area for decades, and sponsored terrorism around the globe. American troops, however, deserve better than a commander-in-chief that believes he is above accountability and the rule of law. On the other side, Republican Congressman Randy Fine said in part, we are with you, Mr. President. We will cut off the head of the snake of Muslim terror, bring lasting peace to the Middle East, and save the Iranian people. Bombs away.
Heard that before. Wait, hold on. Randy Fine. I'm sorry, but Randy Fine hates Muslims, hates Arabs. This guy's a hateful bastard. I'll tell you that right now. This guy actually wants all of the... He actually enjoys what's going on in the Middle East. He don't give a damn. This is the guy that was actually wishing death on, well, Palestinians, even the children. So Randy Fine, this guy is unhinged.
East to the Middle East and save the Iranian people bombs away. Demonstrations were not just limited to the U.S. Here on the left in the big box, you're looking at Times Square in New York City, where
Don't take Randy Fine for these protesters, though. I mean, let's be real. They have legitimate grievances. Randy Fine, he just hates Muslims and Arabs.
thousands gathered to protest and condemn actions taken by the U.S. and Israel. On the right up top, you can see people in Israel on a road leading from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem running and looking for shelters. The IDF was warning of Iranian missiles incoming. And just under that is Germany, where exiled Iranians were dancing and celebrating and waving Iranian flags. We translated some of what was said.
I am happy. No one wants war. The U.S. and Israel have their interest, but there is no other way for the Iranian people to ever experience freedom. This can only be achieved through external intervention, and I am happy about that people will simply gain a basic freedom like all of us. Iranians are happy that they finally received help from the outside, from the United States and Israel. We hope for a good ending.
Also in Germany, there were protesters outside.
All right, though, let's go ahead and get over into what Fox News is coming out with. CIA provided intel to target Khomeini's compound. Well, duh. But let's get into it.
The U.S. and Israel carrying out an unprecedented mission, effectively decapitating Iranian leadership in one of the largest military operations in modern warfare history.
Looming questions over the future of Iran this morning, with the country and its longstanding regime on edge after the Ayatollah and 40 other leaders eliminated in what we believe was one strike in broad daylight.
Jennifer Griffin joining us right now with some of the stunning details from the mission, plus new details we're just learning. Jennifer.
Griff, we've just been able to confirm that it was the CIA that provided the intelligence to the Israelis that led to that strike that allowed the Israelis to drop 30 missiles on the compound of the Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. That was the strike that led to the death of 40 top leaders of Iran. But we have just been able to confirm that report that was first seen in the New York Times. Now, Iranian media is reporting the former Iranian president Mahmoud Ahmadinejad was killed in a strike on his home yesterday, where he was being kept under house arrest for allegedly plotting a coup. You'll remember him as the fiery Iranian leader who first shocked the world by saying openly around 2005 that Israel should be, quote, wiped off the map. We have not been able to confirm the report of his death, but we did report yesterday that his home was targeted in a joint U.S.-Israeli strike, and now it appears as if Ahmadinejad may be no more. Now, well-placed sources I've spoken to suggest the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps was given pre-firing orders in the event of a decapitation strike or strike on the command and control of the IRGC's chain of command. The head of the IRGC was killed yesterday in that strike on the Supreme Leader's compound. But the missiles we see likely are the result of those decentralized orders having been given in advance. The Iranians are not going down without a fight, however. They have fired 137 missiles and 209 drones at the United Arab Emirates, at civilian buildings there, at hotels, 66 missiles at Qatar, and 45 at Bahrain, along with 9 drones. In fact, in downtown Bahrain, the Crown Plaza Hotel was struck. Hotels and civilian apartment buildings are being hit by these missiles and drones in the neighboring Gulf states, not just being targeted are U.S. military bases. Missiles have been fired at a U.S. military base in Erbil, Iraq, however, likely by Shia militias in Iraq who have long been...
All right, let's get into this interview with Jeffrey Sachs, because everybody likes his political opinions. Well, his geopolitical opinions. Let's get right into it.
We have Jeffrey Sachs with us, Columbia University professor, one of the most well-regarded economists and commentators. He's put out a video right now that's going viral on what he believes is the real reason why Iran has been attacked. Professor Sachs, good to have you. Thank you for being here on NDTV on a big day for the region and a big day for the world. I'm going to ask you to tell our viewers, you know, what you've said in that video, Professor Sachs. Why do you think Iran has been attacked?
This is the U.S.
attempt to continue or maintain or sustain its global hegemony. This is a war for control of the Middle East. It's a war for control of the oil of the Middle East. It is not at all what Donald Trump said about any threat from Iran. This is just an imperial lie. This is an imperial war. And it is a very vicious one, and it is probably the start of World War III, I have to say. I hope that it's not the start of nuclear annihilation, but I think it is a global war. And it is a war of U.S.-Israeli hegemony in the Middle East and a war for global dominance. The United States invaded Venezuela to...
Yep, it's all about influence. It's all about taking out Iran's heavy influence in the Middle East and, well, replacing it with Israel's influence.
Control the Western Hemisphere oil. Now it is trying to overthrow the government of Iran to control the Middle East oil. This will hurt India terribly, by the way, and it's also aimed at China. So Asia is the loser in this war, and this is a completely criminal action. But whether anybody stands up and tells the truth about it, that is fearful of the United States or Israel, I don't know.
What do you think is going to happen next, Professor Sachs? You know, as far as the escalation ladder is concerned, attacks have taken place on various cities in Iran. There have been retaliatory attacks on US bases in Bahrain, in Abu Dhabi, in Qatar, and a couple of other places. In the past, things have kind of ended at this point. Do you see them escalating onward from here?
Well, of course, there is no path of de-escalation by the US and Israel. These are hegemonic actors. They have announced their goal. Their goal isn't to return Iran to the negotiating table. Iran was at the negotiating table. Their goal was not to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. It didn't have one, didn't want one, and had said so for the last 12 years. Donald Trump ripped up the agreement, the JCPOA, that put Iran under a rigorous monitoring regime. This is about global hegemony. And countries like India have to decide, are they independent countries? Do they sign up to US empire? This is what this is about. Israel, by the way, is the most violent country in the world, kilometer by kilometer, by far. But it also banks on having the United States behind it. And it's not just Trump. This is a long-standing CIA project that is underway right now.
I mean, yeah, we all knew intelligence has been involved for this for a minute, since the protests. I mean, bro, it's kind of funny, though. What was it? Mike Pompeo admitted that they had, what, the Mossad walking amongst the protesters. I mean, Israelis admitted it. So, yeah, the Mossad and the CIA was definitely helping out those protesters get guns and fight back the regime, which, I mean, look, that's up to you if you disagree or agree with it. But I mean, look, if you're okay with the regime falling, you agree with it. But if you're not really okay with, if you're not okay with stoking tension, then you're not going to be okay with it.
So this is a very, very dangerous occurrence. This has nothing to do with what is stated. This is about U.S. control over the Middle East, and the idea is U.S. control over the world. The idea is that India will fall into line, the Middle East will fall into line, Latin America has no choice, Europe is a vassal state. That's what this is about.
Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump have just spoken over the phone, according to the latest of what we're hearing, Professor Sachs. In your mind, you know, what might they have discussed? Obviously, I'm not asking you to conjecture, but from everything we know, Netanyahu is calling this Operation Roaring Lion. President Trump calls it Epic Fury. What do you think they talked about?
Well, Trump takes his orders from Netanyahu. This is very simple. Netanyahu came last week and ordered the war, and the war goes on. The United States is actually not even the lead agent in this. The Zionist lobby in the United States is so powerful that it puts the United States repeatedly into these wars. The American public is absolutely against this. This is quite interesting. But the American public does not count for anything right now in our affairs because we do not have a constitutional country. We have basically a military state, and Trump is the figurehead of that military state.
As far as the Al Khamenei is concerned, Professor Sachs, do you see this playing out in the same template that it has before? His ceremonial home has been targeted. He is about to make a national address in a short while from now. The same boilerplate statements have been issued from Iran saying, there will be a crushing response. And you've seen these token attacks on different, bases of the American military in the Middle East. Does Iran have the capacity to do something bigger in your view?
I don't think that the U.S. has the capacity to overthrow the Iranian government in a day or a week or a month, as it believes that it does. If you look at almost all events like this, even overthrowing Bashar al-Assad or overthrowing Milosevic in 1999 or overthrowing Muammar Gaddafi in 2011, the United States does not usually have the means to do this in a day or a month. Maybe they're drunk with their supposed success in Venezuela by exfiltrating a president, but this is not Venezuela. This is a country of 100 million people. It's a vast region. It is a mountainous region. It is a region that understood for many, many years that the United States was out to overthrow it. So it's not unprepared or caught off guard. The Straits of Hormuz, I believe, will be attacked. And so I don't think that these are pinprick operations attacking the Gulf. I think it's preparatory to closing the Straits of Hormuz. Now, all of this then depends on things that I don't properly understand in terms of the military dynamics of the next few weeks. But what I do understand is something about geopolitics. This is a brazen, illegal, vulgar overreach by the United States that I do not see how it can have a success, frankly. One success 73 years ago was when the CIA and MI6 overthrew the Iranian government and installed a police state. I don't see how that can happen in today's world. But that's the model of the United States, that they will soon install a police state. I doubt that this is at all realistic.
Professor Sachs, Reuters reporting a piece of breaking news right now, since you mentioned the Gulf of Hormuz. Reuters quoting the IRGC Navy that has announced that no vessels are any longer being allowed to cross and has closed the Strait of Hormuz to any traffic.
And they've already started shooting at any type of ships that try to make it through the Strait of Hormuz. And like I said, here's a little video explaining, how crucial that is.
If Iran blocks the Strait of Hormuz, what impact will it have on the entire world, and which country will be affected the most? First, let's understand what the Strait of Hormuz actually is. It is a small area of just 33 kilometers located between Iran, Oman, and the UAE. It is a narrow sea passage through which almost 20% of the world's oil supply flows, nearly 17 million barrels every day. This oil comes from 8 countries located in the Persian Gulf, including Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE for the United Arab Emirates. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Qatar, 90% of their oil exports pass through this narrow route to reach the rest of the world. If Iran blocks the Strait of Hormuz, following countries will suffer the most damage. First is India, because it imports 85% of its oil, and 60% of that comes from Middle Eastern countries like Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and the UAE. Fuel prices in India would skyrocket, and as a result, everything related to oil and all industries would face severe disruption. Industries could shut down, there would be job losses, and the economy would be severely affected. The second most affected country would be China. China is the world's largest oil importer, bringing in 10 million barrels of oil every day. 40% of China's oil imports pass through this Strait of Hormuz. Although China has built oil pipelines with Russia and Central Asia, they don't even fulfill 20% of its energy needs. So, if the Strait of Hormuz is blocked, China's economy could suffer a massive blow, and if China's economy is shaken, its effects will be felt all over the world. The third most affected country would be Japan, as it imports 90% of its oil, and 75% of that passes through the Strait of Hormuz. The fourth most affected country would be Saudi Arabia. 80 to 90% of Saudi Arabia's oil goes to the rest of the world through Strait of Hormuz, while only 10% goes to Europe via its Red Sea coastline. So if this choke point is blocked, Saudi Arabia's economy will be heavily impacted. Imagine that a country suddenly loses 80 to 90% of its revenue. What would happen to it? Something similar could happen to Saudi Arabia. There's also a high chance that Saudi Arabia might send in its military to reopen the route, and that could make the situation even worse. Fifth is Pakistan, which gets about 90% of its oil through the Strait of Hormuz. This oil meets around 27% of the country's energy needs. So if the route is blocked, prices in Pakistan could rise sharply. But there's an interesting twist. Since Pakistan shares a border with Iran, and several government reports suggest that 35% of Pakistan's diesel comes unofficially from Iran. So if the strait is blocked, Pakistan might turn to Iran for oil, either quietly or through an official deal. Next in line is the UAE, because as nearly as 72% of its oil exports rely on this Strait of Hormuz. The country does have a backup option, the Habshan-Fujairah pipeline, which allows it to bypass the strait and export up to 60% of its oil. But for a major economy like the UAE, losing the remaining 40% would still be a serious blow. Next comes the European countries like France, Germany and Italy, which on average get 10% of their oil through the Strait of Hormuz. A blockade here would hit them hard as well. Globally, experts warn that oil prices could soar past $150 a barrel, causing widespread inflation and possibly triggering a major global recession. So this small 33-kilometer area holds enough power to shake the entire world.
And that's why they're holding it hostage. But all right, though, let's get over to our guy. What was his name? Colonel Lieutenant Daniel Davis.
I just want to welcome Lieutenant Colonel Davis onto the show. Appreciate him taking his time out during a very busy time. I bet his phone is ringing off the hook. And the reason for it is, Lieutenant Colonel, because you predicted this war almost to the T. You've been telling me for the last 10 days, it's coming, it's going to happen within 14 days. And it has indeed happened within 14 days. What's your thoughts? The war has begun.
Well, listen, I think the biggest surprise so far is news that came out. I just saw it literally 5 minutes ago, so I haven't been able to validate it, but apparently Benjamin Netanyahu has announced that the Ayatollah has been assassinated, that he is dead. And apparently the Iranian side is saying that they had originally said it's not true, and he's going to make a televised report later. Now they're saying, well, actually, he's not going to. They haven't confirmed it, but more and more evidence is starting to look like, yeah, he may be assassinated. So that's going to be one. I find that very, very surprising. The expectation that I had was that since they knew he was going to be a target, that he would have been somewhere in a deep underground bunker that's safe. But if this report is true, then obviously the Israeli intelligence figured it out anyway and found a way to get there through to him. So we'll have to wait and see. But then that's going to trigger in the succession plan, which Iran has been very open about that they have. That even if he got taken out, that there was other people to stand in line. Apparently, the president, Pezeshkian, has not been killed, so he is apparently somewhere. So that still continues on. The Ayatollah will be replaced by somebody else. And then the question is, do they maintain continuity with the IRGC, with the population? Does this cause some sort of an uprising that could turn off? That's certainly the hope on the Western side. And right now there's so much chaos and uncertainty. It's just not clear at all where this can go, because it can either go one of two radically different ways. One is that if this assassination is true, or even with what's happened so far, is that it can galvanize people to the regime and saying, hey, look, we may have our internal differences here, but when one of our hated enemies, in Israel or the United States now come in together and they're trying to kill all of our leadership, we're going to be together against that. We'll do our own internal stuff later on, but we're not going to join basically with Israel and the United States against other people in our country. So it could galvanize it, or it could give motivation to them to say, okay, well, look, now is our chance to strike. Because that's exactly what the message from the West is. This is your best chance in a lifetime to get rid of this regime. Rise up now. We're here to help you. We're basically providing air power for you to come and do it. And we'll see, because either one of them are possible at this point. And we just don't know enough to know where it's going to go. My guess would have been that it would galvanize and that they would not be able to fall that easy, because there's too many people inside of Iran that did support the regime. However many have protested against it, they were numerically appeared to be much smaller. But it's anybody's guess right now. We're going to have to wait and see how things roll out.
Okay, there were reports.
Oh, it did say, though, when people say this, like, oh, 90% of Iranians don't support the regime, I'm just like, nah, trust me. If that was true, they'd have been out a long time ago, regardless if that 10% had weapons or not. It's just been too much of an overwhelming majority. Now, if you're talking like, I don't know, now if we're talking like 55-45, then that kind of makes more sense than 90-10.
Ayatollah Khamenei had given a speech a few hours early. So are you saying?
And let's be real, we do want a democracy. Well, a constitutional republic would be better for the people of Iran. But I mean, we want something better than what they had. The problem is that, well, we're honestly not done with the regime. Even though we killed Khomeini, he's still got 5 successors that we need to find. He's still got the president that's still out there. So trust me, this is still an ongoing conflict. Well, really, you can basically call it a war, because that's what Donald Trump called it.
It happened a few hours a few hours ago. So are you saying that this happened possibly in the last couple of hours?
Yes, that's what's being reported, because originally there was some reports that he had been assassinated in the early part of the morning when these strikes first started, and the Iranian side said no, that's not true, and he's going to give a televised speech later on to calm everybody down. And then here, just 5 minutes before I joined you, I saw a report that claimed that Netanyahu himself announced that the Ayatollah had been assassinated. And then I also heard right before I joined you that apparently Iran had said, okay, well, there's actually not going to be a televised report later on, but they're not confirming that he's gone, only that was changed. Again, this is so fluid. All I can tell you is what was about 5 minutes before we joined here. So that's the report that I'm getting. And it could be all misinformation. It could be just disinformation. Who knows what it is, but that's what's floating around right now.
Yeah, we'll definitely check that. I didn't see that news, but we're going 24/7, and we didn't see that. But and again, there's just so much misinformation going out as well. It's always difficult to verify what's real or not in the fog of war. Now, in terms of the attack on Iran, it was a joint attack with the United States of America and Israel. They hit key areas in Iran. Iran responded. They hit they hit US bases. They hit the GCC countries very hard. Bahrain was hit a lot, UAE, and various other countries. And they also hit Israel. What's your thoughts about this military engagement that's happened? Iran's come out hard.
They're coming out pretty hard, but not as hard as I would have anticipated. Actually, I would have figured that once the missiles start flying and the attacks were made, that Iran would come out much bigger, much faster. I would have imagined that they would want to saturate the air defenses on the Israeli side, saturate the defenses on the American bases with waves of missiles and waves of drones, because reportedly they have like tens of thousands of them. So I thought that we would see a lot earlier. So far, we've seen a relatively small amount. A number of them have gotten through.
All right, though, let's hear from the other side. We heard from the dissenting side enough. Let's hear from the guys who are supporting this, like our guy, Patrick Bet-Davis. I like him. I just disagree with him on a couple subjects.
Inside of the country are opposed. Patrick Bet-David joins us now. Patrick, what an amazing guest to have today. I want to start with this. I've been watching you on your podcast, also on Twitter. You say 80% of Iranians inside of the country are opposed to this regime. One, how do you know that? And then what will these 80% do now that President Trump has taken this action? He said, now it's up to you. They don't have guns. Can they and will they fight for their freedom?
Rachel, great to be with you this morning. The only people that support the IRGC is actually the extremists of IRGC and white liberal women in America. You see women, Iranian women around the world dancing, Iranian celebrating.